Okay, next question, very hot topic question always. Who is a real enlightened master? Are there illusory enlightened masters? I laugh because I've answered this question so many times. And okay, personally, I was very lucky to be in Osho's presence for 10 years, and I could feel for me, authentically, Osho was the real thing. No question about it for me. But for other people, he was the devil. You know, some people thought he was the worst person in the world, and other people think he was the greatest Buddha forever. So this is all our egos again. We all see what we want to see. Okay. Also, the other question is, are there any enlightened masters alive now? Well, I don't know. None that I feel that response to. Perhaps I've been lucky to be in the presence of an enlightened master, and it's like Osho was such a multicolored, very colorful character, very colorful Buddha. I often said he's like a full symphony orchestra, but other masters are like a single flute player or violin virtuoso. Osho gave that comparison himself once, that, Krishnamurti is like a solo flute player. Krishnamurti was one of the very few people that Osho recognized was enlightened. The only other enlightened person alive while Osho was alive, according to Osho. So, very possibly I wasn't with Krishnamurti. So how do I know for myself, how do I know if someone is enlightened? The answer is not in the words. Definitely doesn't matter what they say. Because you can read Osho, you can read 10 of his books. You can start speaking like Osho yourself in a few days. You can read Buddha's books, you can be Buddhist, and you can recite what the Buddha might say. It's so easy for us to imitate. Imitation is so easy for humans. And it's such a strong temptation that if you respect someone, another part of your ego wants to be that person, because the ego never wants to be lower. When we see someone as greater or higher than us in some way, another part of the ego wants to come up to the same level or go beyond. That's why there are so many imitators of Osho. So many imitators of Christ and Buddha, so many imitations. And I loved it when Osho said, when you become enlightened, you will be you. You will be enlightened you, not an enlightened him. There will never be another Osho, and there should never be. Enlightenment is always unique. But the personality of the person, it brings up another question. If enlightenment is a state of consciousness that is universal, shouldn't all enlightened masters be exactly the same? Isn't the taste of the ocean salty wherever you go? That's a metaphor Osho always used as well. Isn't light of the sun everywhere the same, whether I'm here or in Africa or Antarctica? Okay, slightly different geographies. Okay, let's go out of our planet Earth. An astronaut sees the sun in its purity. Whether he sees it from near planet Earth or near planet Jupiter, the sun will always be the same. So why, if enlightenment is like something so natural and universal, why does every enlightened master seem to be different? Because they had a personality before they got enlightened. And it's like, as Osho explained it, and I think he's right. I'm not enlightened yet, so I can't say for sure. When I'm enlightened, ask me again. But once a person is enlightened, it's like what they did before, how they trained their personality before, then becomes fixed. It's a bit like, another metaphor. It's an ancient metaphor. Ramakrishna, Gurdjieff, Osho all used it about the human is like a horse carriage. There's a horse and there's a carriage. There's someone inside the carriage who's the master. There's a rider. It's an ancient metaphor. Nowadays we might modernize it and say the personality is like our car, all right? And soon we will have cars who are self-driving. Someone, let's say someone in Silicon Valley, has programmed the map. Maybe in future we're all going to be driving a Google car. All right, we sit in the Google car, we press on Google Maps. I want to go to this city, Ankara. Okay, and I sit back and the car drives me. All right, so that's like our social conditioning. It's that programming. The map has been programmed. You must go on this road and that road and that road. And I don't have to do anything. I just follow the program. But the master is someone who throws away the maps, gets in the car and drives according to their skill. So when we live in this world, even Enlightened Master has to live in this world, he uses his skill to drive. He uses his words. He's learned how to communicate. He's learned how to communicate to these people. It's like, do I drive on the left or the right? Okay, oh, in this country, people drive on the right, so I'll have to talk to them in that language. Okay, in this country, people drive in that way, so I'll have to talk to them in that style. So that Enlightened Master is someone who's become a master of communicating their experience of the ultimate consciousness. There are possibly enlightened people who are not masters. So when I was with Osho, there was 2 disciples enlightened who didn't die immediately after enlightenment. The first was called Swami Anand Maitreya. He was enlightened for 3 years before he left. And the other was Osho's mother. There were 2 other enlightened disciples, Vimalkirti and Osho's father. But they died on the same day they became enlightened. So Maitreya, for example, I did see him. I sometimes communicated to him. I didn't know that he was enlightened because Osho hadn't announced it. But when I saw Maitreya, I always wanted to bow down to him. And I couldn't understand why. Because the only person I would bow down to would be Osho. But something deep inside me, well, this man is so gracious, so silent. He's like Osho, but not Osho when speaking. He's not a teacher. He was just a very simple man working on the Indian newspaper, the Osho Indian Times. Very simple, but so humble. You would not, if you think Osho is enlightenment and everyone must be like that, it's like, it's like comparing the sun with the moon. It's both the same light, actually. But Maitreya was so simple, so humble, but with no personality, no ego. But still he was here, functioning, living. And Osho's mother, well, I was really shocked why other people couldn't understand that she was enlightened. Some people just saw her as a grumpy old Indian woman. But maybe I'm a little bit fortunate that sometimes I can see auras, or I can feel auras. And around Osho's mother, I could see golden light. Again, not as big or as vast as Osho's golden aura. And over the years with Osho, I had this experience of trying to feel how big was Osho's Buddha field. Now, it's maybe something not all of you know about. When Osho was in America, in Rajneeshpuram, we were very lucky that we had such a big territory only for us. No other people, just us. How many kilometers? I forgot now, because as big as the island of Manhattan. I think it was 100 square thousand kilometers or something. But very big area. And Osho's aura I could feel from around about 20 kilometers away. So when we were driving in the bus into the territory of Rajneeshpuram, it's like I could feel, oh, this is the barrier. Oh, now I'm in Osho's energy field, his Buddha field. And of course, it wasn't as strong as sitting closer to him, and I was very fortunate to sit very close to him many times. But definitely, oh, I'm now in the energy field. So Osho was maybe a remarkable master, not just a simple enlightened master, but he was a master of enlightened masters, a super Buddha. Just like in the universe, also our sun is just a very simple average sun, but there are some super big, huge suns, millions of times bigger. Some of the stars in the sky are so big, they're billions of times bigger than our sun. So if we have this metaphor that enlightened master is like the sun, okay, enlightened person is the sun, but then there's a supernova or a super sun, billions of times bigger. They're both full of light, but perhaps their aura expands in a different dimension, different level. Okay, so pause.